this is Christina with Maple and Sunshine Boutique. I just wanted to come and do a quick updated tutorial. I did this boxed cushion cover tutorial a couple of years ago. A lot of people loved the tutorial, and then there were a handful of people that had a lot of confusion about the measurements and the boxed corners and how I came to get those measurements. So I just wanted to do an updated video now that I'm finally getting around to doing the back of my cushions. The first video was the seat. So this is all one solid piece of fabric. It's a very beginner friendly tutorial. The whole reason I did this one was because there's a lot of other tutorials for box cushions out there, but I wanted to keep it as simple and beginner friendly as possible. This is great for anybody just learning to sew all the way up through experienced. You have your zipper that comes down the side a few inches, around the back, all the way across the back, and then around the other side. The reason that I did that was because it makes it much easier to take your cover off and on. A lot of the other tutorials end the zipper in the corner, which is a very snug fit if you've ever tried to remove your covers to wash them or put them back on and they've shrunk. So that's basically the gist of what we're going to be doing today with this tutorial. And then the front, because it's all one piece, is a nice smooth finish. Let's get started. So to begin, you're going to need to cut your solid piece of fabric. There's no extra pieces, there's no extra seams. This is it. This is your cushion cover. So what you need to do is measure. You're going to have to get your measurements for the long way and then this way. So the formula to do that is, I'm going to fold it this way just so you can get an idea. This is the front of your cushion where the fold is. This is the back of your cushion where the two raw seams are and the zipper is going to go. And then that will be the left and the right if you were facing your cushion, looking at your cushion face on. So in order to get these measurements, when I refer to depth, I'm talking about front to back. When I'm talking about width, I'm referring to left to right. When I'm talking about height, I'm talking about the actual thickness of your cushion foam. So to get your total longer measurement, you are going to do your depth times 2 plus your height times 2 plus 1 inch, assuming you're using a 1/2 inch seam allowance like I am. In order to get your width measurement from left to right, you're going to add your width plus your height plus 1 inch, again assuming you're using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Again, those formulas to do this are depth times 2 plus height times 2 plus 1 inch for this measurement. And then you're going to do for this measurement width plus height plus 1 inch. Let's fold this in half. In order to do your corners, I'm going to turn this around. So you are now looking at the back of the cushion. We're not doing anything at all with the folded edge right now. This is the front, and we're not doing anything with those corners. These corners at the back, we are going to box them. You're going to take half of your cushion height, and you're going to box that out of your corner. So my cushion is 3 inches high. I'm going to cut in 1.5 inches and over 1.5 inches. So all 4 of these corners on the raw edges will come in and over half of your cushion height. Let's go to the sewing machine. Now that we have our piece cut, the first step that we want to take is on your little boxed corners that you just cut, you're going to fold your fabric so that the raw edges meet right sides together. This is the wrong side, this is the right side, at that little corner. So you have that edge there. And what we're going to do is sew down that edge using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And you're going to want to back stitch at your start and stop so that it doesn't come undone. And then once you've done that, you have this pretty little corner. And then you will repeat that for all 3 of the other corners. And I will be right back. Now that we have all 4 of your corners boxed. You're going to find one of your short ends with the 2 corners, and this is the back where you're going to be installing the zipper. Take your 2 seams for the short end and fold them together so that they're matching, and then pull this out just to find the center of the back and make a little snip. If you're not comfortable snipping your fabric, you can use a marking pen as well, but we just need to find the center of the back pieces. And then you're also going to grab your zipper. It's important to note that when you're picking your zipper, you want to make sure that your zipper is at least the width of your cushion plus several inches. You're going to want it to, if you want it to extend down the sides like we're doing here. My zipper is, I want to say 26 or 28 inches, and my cushion is 22 inches wide. So to find, I'm just going to find the center of my zipper as well. My zipper has these little tails, so I'm not counting them. I'm just lining up where the zipper starts with where the zipper ends. Finding the center, and I'm just going to give it a quick little snip. And then take your zipper and hold it facing so that the actual pull is facing away from you, and the right side of the fabric is facing you. So the zipper and the fabric will be right sides together. Find those center marks and go ahead and clip them in place. Just go all the way down, clipping your zipper to the back of your cushion cover. And then once you get to the boxed corner here, you're going to continue clipping. Just continue around the corner. Maybe put a couple extra little clips there with the bend. And then do the other side as well, all the way down and around the corner. Again, once you get to the corner, just continue on around, and you can press the seam to one side or the other. Since it's not thick material, it doesn't really matter if you finesse the seams or not. Okay, so because my zipper has these little tails, yours might too. This is just a little helpful tip, because if you sew it in here, it's going to stick out when you turn your cushion. I angle the tail off of the fabric, up off of the top, so it's actually going to be sticking into the seam allowance on the inside. And then all you need to do, depending on the width of your zipper, you're going to be sewing using a 1/4 to 3/8 inch seam allowance here. Let me open my zipper so the tab pull is out of the way. But you want to make sure that you keep your presser foot right up along the teeth of the zipper to keep the zipper as narrow as possible. It is going to add just a little bit of height to the back of your cushion, but to keep it beginner friendly and as simple as possible, we're not going to go into making adjustments for that. Just keep your zipper as narrow as possible by keeping your presser foot against the teeth. So just continue to sew. I'm going to move my pull again. So as you're sewing, you're going to need to move your zipper pull out of the way. Just leave your needle down, raise your presser foot, move the zipper pull, and then just lower your foot again and continue sewing. Try and be more careful than me. I'm just going around the corner, okay, and then down to the other end, and then back stitch at the beginning and the end. All right, so now that you have that attached, what you'll want to do is lay it out so that you've got the right side facing you. If you roll the zipper up, you're now looking at the right side of your zipper and the right side of your fabric. Grab the opposite short end, which is the other half of your back. Okay, so you're going to sandwich these together. Find the center of your back, and then on the right side of the zipper, so this is how we sewed it. You're going to want to flip the zipper up. So this is the right side of your zipper. that you're matching up with the right side of your fabric. So the right side is facing the right side, and we're going to, again, go ahead and clip those together just like we did with the other side, and then sew down again exactly like we did before, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I didn't sew the other side yet, but I wanted to just show you, as you're getting to the other corners of where your boxes will be on the back, you've already sewn one side of the zipper on, and we're sewing the other side of the zipper. But when you get to the corners, even though the box corners aren't going to actually be touching each other, you need to make sure that they still line up with each other. So look, you can look on the inside, and if you kind of pinch it, you can see that those two seams will still line up. You just need to make sure that you're paying attention to that as you go, because it will be noticeable when you're done if your boxes don't line up. I mean, if it's not exact, it's not the end of the world, because this is going to be the back of your cushion, but it's just something to be mindful of. And then I'm going to go ahead and sew down the other side again. Out of the way here. Shoe pull. Alright. And then finish off here with my little tail angled off the end. Alright, there we go. So what you're essentially left with now is this big kind of tube. So you've got, your zipper, and then the open sides. Your front is still that fold, and it's just a big tube with the zipper on one end. And then what we need to do next is sew up the sides. So all we have to do that, the zipper area can be a little bit awkward, but you're going to pinch your zipper so that it sticks up and not like this. You don't want it to go inside, you want it to go up and out, away from the right side of the fabric. And then go ahead and clip that in place, and then just go all the way down the edges. Now I'm using a fabric, it's like outdoor upholstery type fabric, and it does shed and fray quite a bit. If you want to serge your edges, that's fine. I'm not going to bother, because these won't be used a whole lot. They're, they're not going to be taken off and on and washed a whole lot, so I'm not really worried about it, but you can if you are. So 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way down the side. And then as we approach the zipper, this is where it's going to get kind of awkward because it's bulky. You want to just continue sewing as close as you can get to the end of the zipper, back stitch a couple times, and then with your needle down, raise your presser foot and turn your work 90 degrees, and then lower your presser foot and just go off of the edge and back, just within the seam allowance, so that you're reinforcing that corner there, where the zipper where the zipper ends and where the seam allowance ends, so it's not going to tear and fray there and be a weak seam. And then you will go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side. Something to note here is that you'll want to have your zipper closed so that it lines up properly, and go ahead and clip this in place and put two or three clips, and then reach inside once it's clipped in place and open your zipper several inches so that you can turn it right side out once you sew up this other side. Otherwise it can be difficult to open the zipper once it's sewn shut. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this side and sew it using the 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'll be right back. This is what you should now have. This is the front of your cushion, and we haven't done anything with these corners. You have the 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides, and then on the back, your zipper is connected to both sides, and your corners are boxed. In order to get your measurements for the front boxed corners, this is the formula that you need to use. These formulas are going to work regardless of the size of your cushion, as long as it is either a square or a rectangle. Obviously for curved edges and things like that, this is not going to work. But for a basic square or rectangle cushion, this is the way to do it. So this is a little bit different. You already have a 1/2 inch seam allowance here, and you're not taking anything off of the folded edge because of the seam allowance. You're going to measure in your 1/2 of your height from the raw edge. I have a 3 inch cushion, a 3 inch high cushion, so I'm going to go in 1.5 inches. For the folded edge, you're going to do 1/2 the height minus 1/2 inch because of the seam allowance. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I promise it works. Just trust me on this. So again, your formula is going to be 1/2 of the cushion height from the raw edge, and then 1/2 of the cushion height minus 1/2 inch from the folded edge. I will go ahead and trim those out. So you will essentially have what looks like a rectangle, but in reality is a square, because if you look at where you have the seam allowance and take that away where I'm covering, this is your actual opening. I know that it looks like it won't come out to be 3 inches, but you have to remember it's not just along these edges. You're actually coming in 1/2 inch this way and in 1/2 inch this way, which makes this 1.5, 1.5 once you add the 1/2 inch seam allowance, and you're joining the two sides, which is going to add up to 3 inches. So hopefully this clarifies the confusion from the first video. If you still have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer as many of them as I can. It was a little overwhelming, the first one. I didn't expect quite a huge response to that video, and I appreciate that very much. I do apologize for anybody I wasn't able to get back to, but I will do my best to respond to any questions you might have. I'm going to go ahead and cut the other corner, and we will go ahead and finish this up. Now we have our front corners boxed, so all we need to do to finish this cover is to find the center of your fold and line that up. You're going to kind of pinch both sides and pull and separate so that the center of your fold lines up with the seam from the side, and your corners will naturally just line up if you've got those two lines matched. Clip it in place, and you're going to go ahead and sew that at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And we'll do that one more time. So again, this is your folded front. This is the side with the 1/2 inch seam allowance. You kind of want to just pull the fabrics apart, the top and the bottom, and your center of your fold will line up with the seam on the side, and your little corners that you cut will just line up nicely, so there's a smooth line across this edge. And you're going to clip it in place and sew again using your 1/2 inch seam allowance. Your cover is finished. Let's go over to the table and try it on the cushion, and we will be all done. All right, now that your cushion cover is sewn, let's talk for a second about your actual cushion. You may be using ones that you already had and you're just refinishing. You may be using new foam and cut to the size. Whatever you are using, I do highly recommend grabbing some high loft quilt batting and just spraying your cushion with some adhesive spray or basting spray. and just gently wrapping the foam around, or I'm sorry, the batting around your foam. It doesn't have to be beautiful or perfect, just kind of fold it over on the sides and the back and then leave, again, the smooth, it's all one piece and just wrapped around just like you did the cover, so that you have a little bit more squish, and it gives it just a fuller, once your cover is on, it just gives it a nice full look. It doesn't have any loose or saggy areas, because the batting kind of fills in any uneven areas if your seams aren't perfect. There we go. So once your cover is done, the easiest way that I found to put these on, they're very easy to take off and put on, like I mentioned before, but just stick your arms down into it, and this is the front. Line the front of your cover up with the front of your cushion, and go ahead and just get it started. And then all you have to do is slide it on like a pillowcase. If you would rather have it right side out and just slide it in that way too, that works just fine. It really doesn't matter, because it's easy to put on regardless because of the way that we did this with the longer zipper. And then just tuck your corners up. I'm just getting all these little loose threads out of the way that I didn't serge. And zip it up. And there you have it. I got a little batting in the way. And there you go. You have, you may need to just shift it a little bit if it's not even on there, but there you go. That is your finished cushion cover. It only takes, once you get the hang of it, the first one will take a little longer, but if you're knocking out a handful of them, you could probably get one done in about 20 minutes once you get the hang of it. And there you go. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please feel free to subscribe, because I will be adding some more videos as I go. I have some, some patterns out there. Please let me know if you have any questions. Bye.